SHECEMBER Day 2, Day 3, and on to Day 4. I've fallen behind just one day because I was very busy making an animation. And those things take up a lot of time. So I've got this pencil right here. Where's the other one? This is not the time. Oh, here it is. Got my thick one. I've got a reference of a couple right here. And I want to use, it is copyrighted. I'm not allowed to, but I'm sure I can draw it. So yeah, let's get started on learning, on perfecting our ability to draw women. And so for myself, like, okay, so I'm just going to start over here for a second and just get a little very quick sketch. And just very rough, huh? What do I see? What do I see? Let me see this. Just trying to build up the face here. I've been practicing faces so much in the past year that I'm quite comfortable getting likenesses right, and so at some point I was focusing a lot more on like the rendering, so you know what it would actually look like. So I started moving into inks a lot more because I want to get better at drawing women for my comic book, which has a lot of female characters. The comic book is called Phosphor. So to join in on the SHECEMBER art challenge that Marshall Lee of Donkey Jaw Projects kicked off last year, I thought I would jump in. It'd be a lot of fun. I'll make videos to get back into the swing of things of making videos daily, just little time lapses, but also to change up the challenge a little bit. For myself, I would go into placing women into scenes according to the suggestion, because that is kind of where I need to be practicing, and it does need to be a challenge. So just to warm up a little bit, because I had the fortune of being in a stream with some other artists earlier this morning, and then I did a little organizing, and I got my whole day, probably the next 2-3 days, lined up with little mini deadlines of stuff that I need to get going on. And top of the list is this one, because of the animation yesterday, I felt, like I said, I fell behind. So, all right. So another thing I really need to practice, and that I always feel like is one of my weak spot, is hair. Doesn't matter if it's for the ladies or for the men. Like drawing hair can be fun, like just going crazy with the pencil, but getting it to look good and to the point that you understand exactly how the hair is flowing, but with the added challenge of doing it within a certain amount of time, because if you give yourself a whole day to render hair, you know, that'd be great, but of course, then you end up with a comic book where an awful lot of characters have dreads to save yourself a lot of time. And you start coming up with all sorts of crazy cheats, you know? So, okay, so the hair is kind of flowing like this. And then here, So the question then is very much one of how can I do this within a certain amount of time and still have it look cool, you know? So the first thing I had to focus on was, of course, simply learning how to draw hair by drawing tons of hairdos. And so I'm still not entirely there yet, but I'm getting to the point where, because, well, basically, I mean, unless somebody has a really straightforward, simple hairdo, but like even here with this lady, so like it's not messy, but there's lots of strands going all over the place. There's a very clear haircut, and because of all these shapes, the light bounces off it in some parts more than others. So clearly the light is coming from here. This is a lot more in shadow, even though it's not a shadow heavy piece, but that's part of the color of her hair. And that's another thing, like, to think of, like, another thing that I think about is not just like, okay, so where's the light source coming from? So this is a pretty full-on light source, like it's really over here. So I draw a little sphere, like you'd see in 3D programs, to remind myself. Okay, so this is pretty good. It's pretty good. But another thing to think of is, like, when rendering, are you coloring? That's the question I ask myself. Are you coloring right here? Like, so for here in the example of this lady, she's a brunette. Her hair is very dark, and so with more light over here, I could leave that out in the black and white. But then over here, I'm inclined to just color it all in and just make it dark. But that, of course, would be the job of the colorist in a comic book. And so that's like one of those things where I have to stop myself and ask myself, like, are you coloring? Or should I just leave that white and let a color decide that? And then, of course, if this is your own piece, you'd probably be asking yourself, well, it's a black and white piece. For myself, for the longest time, I've really been enamored with, like, very fleshed out, fully rendered black and white art. I love that stuff. I go nuts for it. I think a lot of it looks a lot better in black and white than colored. Nothing against it being colored in, of course, but yeah, she's got a little bit of a mullet going in this one. But I'm fascinated by it. I can just look at that over and over again. All right. We got some earrings going here, and so there's a little bit of shadow. Another thing that helps me rendering is, of course, you want to go along with the shape you're drawing. So over here, you know, like, so her face is going like this, right? So there's shadow over here, so shadow. And if you draw it in gray like that, I find it, because one of the mistakes I've been making, at least that I now consider to be a mistake, is, so if I shade it, this is an extra step, of course. I tend to want to go straight into the line art, the comic booky line art, to save myself time. But if I shade it, I over render, so I draw a ton of lines like that, very close. But then for a comic book, it would be more obvious to me that I could just do that. So 4 lines is that shadow. And so here, and so it brings down the amount of lines that I would use in a piece. You know? And I still need to work on that because I still tend to overdo it. Of course, it depends on what my art style ultimately is going to become, but if that's the thing you actually choose rather than it choosing you. All right, so enough warming up. She has a necklace. So that's yeah, that's a little bit of thinking that goes behind drawing. So I hope you can make use of that information. I hope it helps you out. If it does, let me know. It's always fun to hear from people in the comments down below. In the meantime, I'm gonna get started on the prompt proper. So I'm gonna pick a different piece. 1 second. And then let's see, where is my search? So a lot of these dancing couples are pretty straightforward, side by side. So I'm looking for something that has a little bit more perspective on it. Not too naked. Hey, what happened? I don't like any of these pictures. I'm just gonna have to cut this out then. The search, I mean. Honestly, that's a tough one. Foreshortening of the arm. Smile. And alright, so got a bit of foreshortening going on here. We could make it more 3D to make it harder. There's this detail here, hands painting. Of course, to get this expression right, I want to focus on the lady, so maybe I'll just crop it like this or something, you know, like that. We'll see. I do like that hair, that feathery look, because I've been playing around with that a lot for my comic book, just to as a quick way to draw hair. And I mean, like let's say it's the guy, and then I would go like, I just build it up like that, like a very feathery look, just to help myself draw a hairdo, you know? Okay, so let's get started on the prompt. For dancing, okay. Instead of drawing ovals, I find myself drawing squares a lot more lately. It's just one of those things. I don't ask questions too much. And then for the arms, I go for... So these are the, so this is for the, where the arm comes out of the torso. This is for the elbow, another one for the elbow. And then for the wrist, see that? It's pretty straightforward. So the shadow on this one, like looking at her jawline, is again It's pretty like, it's like this, which is fine. So I just draw a T for the eyebrows, and then I draw a line down. Here we go. That's for the face. So let's break it down. Just draw a little shape like that for the nose. These are all like, you know, to pencil in. Hoppa. See? Nothing fancy here. These have to be, the eyes, I find it very hard to get the eyes line up, especially the pupils. Okay, so the hairdo is kind of flat over here. I'm just drawing the shape. So it goes around like that. Right? And then it comes down here. So the face is over here. Over here. So let's drop some heavy blacks on it for the tunic. Okay. So let's see. So there's a V shape here between them. V, no space, shape. This one goes down. Up. So her hand is over here, folding, 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 thumb, thumb, hoop, 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 hoop. Okay, so I messed up a little bit here. That's okay. All right, so I need to put bow tie, hoop, hoop. This is actually, this part and this part should be closer, like over here. Okay. So this guy's head. This guy's head. Is it the same size as the lady? So could I just go like this? This is the ear. So the top goes to the brow. The bottom goes to the bottom of the nose. Okay. Little triangle for the nose, that's enough. So over here the face comes out and then it goes like that for, see that? Alright, so I've got the thin one now. I want to render out a little bit, but with the drawing over here and being left-handed. Okay, so let's focus on the lady because it's SHECEMBER after all. Okay, so this is going to be pretty tight drawing, very small like this, but let's see if we can make something come out of this. So I'm trying to see the dark shadows first and draw those. Because this is such a small drawing, and because I've already made the paper very messy, I don't want to add more lines because it will just obscure everything. So I'm just drawing some heavy shadows straight away where the simple shapes were for the flaps of hair, if you will, that I made up to resemble her hairdo. All right. Okay, so on this part, the hair gets a lot darker because it's again, this is the coloring bit. So if I want to color, if I want to add a little bit of that color, then I should just I can do it like that. Okay, so the ear, her ear is right over here. Do I need to go in and draw all that detail? I don't think so. So this is another little pointer for myself. I see this lady is probably, I would guess, late 30s, early 40s. There's some lines in her face that really add to the expression. And so I'm inclined to want to draw them, but that's a big no-no. But they do add to the lines that I do have to draw to help understand them. So it's good to see them. It's good to sketch them, but I'm not going to draw them because then I would mess up the paper further. So just to let you know. Okay. And then that's it, and then a little bit here. So I could draw that line. I'm not going to do that. It's gonna go over here. I'm just gonna, and that's it. Age-wise, okay, so the nose is actually so fine with because of the makeup and the lighting. There's hardly any shadows. So the shadows I do see are just over here. A little bit of the breathing hole, nostril, and then this I have to draw, and then that's it. So the shape of the face, you see this part here, and then this, here's the other half. So hop, hop. But the eye is not obscured by the nose as much. But when it comes to the tip of the nose, where the nose sticks out the most, that is a good point for proportions, making sure that I get it right. Again, like this is shadow. I don't have to actually draw that line. I could just leave gaps. And so this one being thicker, it still implies a shadow. I'll just leave it at that. it's kind of weird talking through the drawing process. I hope this is okay to listen along to for you guys. I don't do a lot of these videos like that. So this line, that line needs to go. First one to be erased. Okay, let's get the smile. So, so there's the cheek. The cheek over here is almost invisible. Actually, either that is good makeup, or I'd feel it's photo brushed out. If I draw this here, I could, but it's better to just imply it, I think. So with the nose shadow here. So it's implied, and it's better to imply it here where the smile gets cut off, that there's that. So reference point, the tip of the nose, how much space is there? Say it's about here. So draw a simple shape to get the mouth going. The mouth goes a little down, smile, cut it off. That's it. I wonder if this is the same lady as the previous picture, just looking at her teeth. She has very sharp teeth. Anyway, we're not going to be able to draw that. So again, like just imply. And that's it. We're done. There's very light hair here, which I just want to hint at. That's it, we're done. The hair behind the ear is sticking out here. It's very dark, but then there's shadow on the neck. If I draw that shadow, it's going to blend into the hair and it's going to look bad. So I'm just going to leave that out. And that, just hint at it here. And that's for the colorist then, if this were to be colored, what I was talking about earlier. And then, okay, so I got this here. All right, so this is a little too square now. I'm gonna have to round this off. And so I'm gonna just go straight in and draw the shapes for the clothes. That's it. There's shadow here, which we can imply. And just over here. So the bottom of the arm. So bloody no. Oh, my cat is trying to get onto my lap. Not now. All right. So the arm, I've drawn it like this, but actually it was a little bit more 3D. So we're just gonna. This is for the shoulder, that's the shoulder. Here we go. One straight line. Okay, so the elbow. The elbow is the wrinkliest bit, and we don't need to draw that, but there's definitely stuff happening there. And that's it, we're done. So from here, it goes into the shoulder. So I'm just gonna, it's over here. Oh. All right, so there's shadow down here. But again, like I could just imply it like that, and then draw this a little darker like that. The tunic fits like that. Okay, we got this. All right, so the thumb. cool. Oh yeah, of course. There's a fourth finger. Cool, cool. Okay, there's a little bit of... And that's it, we're done. How am I gonna... Is this simply going to be all black? Or not? Is a good question to answer right now. But let's get back to the arm first. So, alright, so... Let's just draw this here and then be stuck with it. That now has to be there. So her hand is in his hand. The wrist is then like this, like a little box. And this is a tricky thing. To wrap your head around, like how these muscles, and then if there's a bit of extra meat hanging, dangling from the bone, it's all very tricky. Let's do it like that. I actually think it came out too thin now, but hey. There's also, like, I noticed that there's like the light glimmering all along here, but I don't get to draw that because I'm not gonna render the arm like that because it's too small of a drawing. So I'm just gonna brush that out. All right, so the arm is done. So they're very much drawing, very much attached to each other. Done. Okay. Okay. So this should be all colored in, like her body is moving in like that, right? All right, so the question is this simply going to be black and then black, or is it going to be rendered? I'm quite fond of the lines I see in here. So I'm gonna go with rendered. Keep that separated. And then thicken up some of these lines for a bit of variation. Okay. Okay. Did I save myself? I don't know. All right, so we got that one. That's the lady. That's the most important thing. I'm quite having a good time drawing this. I'm just gonna finish this up a little bit. And then it is, so the shadow here, let's do it like that. So I'm having a good time making this video. I hope you enjoy watching this. If you are, feel free to check out some of my other videos. I post blogs every Sunday, more or less, if I don't fall behind like I am this week. But there's about, I don't know, 50 odd vlogs from me living in Sketchalona, filling up my sketchbook for you to catch up on. So I don't have to worry too much about this week's just yet. I hope to finish editing that one tonight. I've got most of the footage done already. There's just a visit to the Roman bathhouse / archaeological dig / museum in the next town over from Barcelona called Badalona. That I have to edit in, but editing is very time consuming, so I'm going to save that for tonight. Alright, so this is going to stay a little rough. Is it clear, these shapes? Or does it need a little bit of shadow? Okay. Just coloring the nail polish to make it more clear. Go. Right. Bow tie. This one should be shorter than that one, and this one should be 3D. There we go. The jacket should come out from underneath. The jacket up here goes around his neck. I'm just going to render it out like this. His shoulder is going to be a lot bigger now. There we go. See? Added a bit of shape. So the shoulder sticks out like that. Let's see, from the thumb, hop. So I do want to have a go drawing his face, just a little bit. He's looking at her. So once again, just some shapes, a little bit of shadow. Hope. And then here, there's a smile. You can just imply it, leave it at that. Just gonna draw it like that. So it's over here. These wrinkles go around. This goes around, this goes around. And then it's time for this shape here to help define the hair. He's got pretty bouffant, like boofy, big swept hair. And it's gray, so I'm just gonna curl around his ear. Alright, leave it at that. Okay, so there's this shape to follow around here. Hope. So this is where I placed the ear, so now I'm going to place it a little further back. So a couple of shadows, and we are done. So before I draw in the rest of the face, I think we need to, because I'm running out of space here. He doesn't have a neck, it is implied. So it goes down, 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 down. So I want to keep that line like this. But the question is, where exactly is it all going to come together? How much space between the nose, underneath the nose to the lip? How much of the smile is in shadow? Just here. The smile goes around, so half a moon, but I don't get to draw that. The shadow. These should be a little thicker because there's a little bit more shadow. Okay, so your head doesn't have a neck, so it goes straight down to the butterfly of the... This is probably way too big right now. Anyway, doesn't matter. Connected here. Okay, so this is the neck. Oh, it doesn't seem to have those lapels. Okay, doesn't matter. This has a different texture than all this. There we go. Should I draw this all black? That's a good question. I think this one is. I'll leave that for the colorist. Underneath here, it's definitely all black. Okay. Just gonna actually draw that. I like how dark these pencils get. But it's easy to, with the soft graphite one, it's okay, but with the blue one, you just tear into the red one especially, it's even worse. Just tear into the paper straight away. All right, so he needs the top of the head. It's kind of see-through-y. Okay, I think that should do it. Okay, let's get rid of these guidelines. All right, you guys, that was a draw along. I'm gonna post this completely, this video. It's gonna take a little while to upload because it's a meaty 40 minutes, 44 minutes, but hey. That's okay. It's to make up for the fact that I missed out on a day and I didn't get to post this straight away. So now I am going to get ready for day 5 of SHECEMBER. Drawing the female form for the whole month of December. Every single day we post updates to social media to keep ourselves accountable. But in the meantime, I hope you are doing well in your drawings while I put this into my Mac so my Mac can upload it so I can free up the iPhone for the next bit of time lapse. What do you say, Kitty? I know. So yes. See you in the next video. Have a good one.